Okay, don't ask why, but one night I was looking through the McDonald's wiki, or the McWiki as we in the biz like to call it. You know, I was looking through all the classic characters, you know, Ronald McDonald, Hamburglar, Grimace, but then an interesting name caught my eye. I didn't know it at the time, but this name would shape the course of my life for the next few months. That man's name? No, it was the Griddler. The Griddler was the guy's name. I clicked on his entry to see a photo and if there was any information about him, but to my surprise, there was no photo. And the entry simply said, "The Griddler is a McDonald Land character that steals McGriddles. There is no pictures or video, but people claim they saw him in commercials. He was used from 2003 to 2006 and has a McGriddle for a head like Mayor McCheese or Officer Big Mac. There is not much else to say except that if we are lucky, we will find a picture or video of him." That's it. That's the whole article. These 4 sentences led me on a worldwide search for this long-lost McDonald's character, this phantom, this enigma, this Griddler. You can find just about anything on the internet. I mean, there's old cartoons, there's weird ads from the 40s, there's probably your old high school Battle of the Bands performance, regrettably. And so for a McDonald's character from 2006 to have no internet footprint, I knew something had to be up.
The first thing I did was obviously Google the Griddler, which led me to a kitchen appliance called the Griddler. Not a promising start. When I typed in the Griddler McDonald's, the results weren't much better. There were a few forum posts of people asking about the Griddler, with a few even claiming to remember seeing him in commercials. But unfortunately, the Griddler remained at large. I mean, of course he did. Otherwise it would have been too easy. There's no way a simple Google search would have solved a mystery of this caliber. A couple of users on these forums stood out to me. Users who had clearly undertaken the search for the Griddler themselves, and for whatever reason, come up short. Users like Griddler Investigator, who said, "I know he is out there somewhere. All of my leads have gone cold, but I am looking for new ones. If anyone finds any new info, please let me know." Curious as to what these leads were, I reached out to this so-called Griddler Investigator, asking if he'd had any luck in his search. Unfortunately, he never got back to me. I guess the message board function of the McDonald's wiki isn't exactly an efficient means of communication. Meanwhile, I found a post on the Doomworld forums from James, a man who seemed to share the same passion for the Griddler as I did. Never in my life have I known of anyone that is as elusive as the Griddler. I figure that eventually, video or photographic evidence of the Griddler will find its way online, and when that happens, it will be a spectacular moment in time for the McDonald Land community. But until that happens, the Griddler will continue to be surrounded by mystery. I also reached out to James in the hopes that in the 2 years since the post had been made, he'd found the holy grail we'd been looking for. To my surprise, he replied swiftly, and while he was extremely polite and willing to help, he didn't have the easy answer I was looking for. My final call went out to McDonald's themselves. A few users had mentioned reaching out to McDonald's to no avail, with one even saying that they would hang up as soon as he mentioned the Griddler.
At this point, even I, a staunch Griddler truther, began to have my doubts. Was this just some crazy Mandela effect character that had spread like an urban legend? I mean, were the people calling up these McDonald's franchises asking for the Griddler doing the adult equivalent of kids calling up GameStop asking for Battletoads? Doubts aside, I had to do my due diligence as a detective, so I just straight up asked them if they had any promotional material or anything left over from this relic of the past. While I waited for a response, I decided to prepare for the worst. I mean, what if, shockingly, McDonald's customer support had nothing for me? So, spurred by my crippling fear of rejection, I created a secondary Griddler action plan. The first step was to get a visual representation of the Griddler. So far, all we'd been working with was a name, and with a few verbal descriptions floating around, I hired an artist to see if he could bring those words to life.
He's kind of like a guy. I think he's a man, probably. And he has a McGriddle for a head, I think. And also, he steals the McGriddles as well.
Okay. Anything else?
Not really. He's maybe make him like Hamburglar or like Mayor McCheese, I guess, but like with a McGriddle in there.
Right.
Many revisions later, I had my Griddler. He was everything I imagined and more. He would be the perfect visual aid to my search. I'm also willing to bet that this is actually the first official fan art of the Griddler, so shoutouts to Nicholas Gooch the artist, because this is a huge milestone in my books. Now came time for step 2 of my plan, infiltrating McDonald's. I figured that if anyone could confirm the existence of this mystery man, it would be someone who frequents McDonald's restaurants. So, I visited some to see if they'd be willing to put up my beautifully designed posters.
They didn't want them. They wouldn't put the posters up. They are Griddler non-believers. After yet another rejection, a seemingly wild thought occurred to me. Could this be a cover-up? Could the Griddler's elusiveness be a deliberate stratagem formulated at the top of the McDonald's hierarchy? A response email from Brianna at McDonald's customer support said that she was unable to locate any information on this. Unable because it doesn't exist, or unable because I was getting too close to the truth? Which one is it, Brianna? Maybe I was crazy. Or maybe I was finally sane.
As it turns out, I can't trust big corporations after all. I mean, who would have guessed, honestly? The only people I can trust are the good citizens of Melbourne, who will surely help me with step 3 of my plan, getting the word on the street.
Excuse me, sir. Have you ever dreamt this man? Okay, so he's called the Griddler. So you see, he's got like a burger for a head, but he also steals burgers. So it's kind of like head. Find the Griddler. Take one, please.
Does he eat the burgers?
I don't know. Hey, excuse me. Hey, have you ever had this burger? It's called a McGriddle. It's got like eggs and like maple syrup, I think. Okay, bye. Thank you. He wears a funny hat, I think. I made this up, but this is what I think he looks like. So if you've seen anyone like him. Hey, hi. So in 2003, dude, I'm never gonna find this guy. I've asked like 5 people. Well, thanks anyway, man. Hey, appreciate it. Thanks for your time. Have a good day.
At this point, all hope was lost. I tried my best, and I'd failed, an all too familiar feeling throughout my detective career. I was desperate. I mean, I watched hundreds and hundreds of McDonald's commercials from that time period, which were archived on these weird websites where I guess marketers brag about how good their ads are, I think. Eventually, the clock hit 4 a.m., and I decided to end my search for the day. I woke up that night in a cold sweat. A radical idea had just been directly injected into my mind-brain cortex. Who would be the most likely demographic to have watched and remember a McDonald's ad in 2003? People a lot older than me, that's for sure. And where's the official meeting place for old people on the internet? None other than Facebook.com. I began using the Facebook search function with the thoroughness and desperation of a horny uni student trying to slide into his cute classmates' DMs. After a brief trip down the McDonald's Facebook fandom rabbit hole, I stumbled upon a page called Filming in McDonaldland. It's run by the art director at the various ad agencies that created McDonaldland and Happy Meal commercials, and he posts behind-the-scenes photos, storyboards, and interesting tales from his time at the top. This was it. This was the best lead I was going to find. I summoned up the courage, sent him a message, and waited. During this brief period of time, I was witness to a phenomenon I like to call Schrodinger's Griddler. In the few hours it would take for him to respond, I was living in a temporal period of time where the Griddler may or may not exist. This was the culmination of all of my investigation, and the wait wasn't easy. But still, part of me didn't want it to be over. Regardless of whether or not this guy could confirm his existence, I knew there was nothing more I could do. I'd exhausted every lead, followed every trail, and I so desperately wanted for there to be more. I was racking my brain trying to think of any possible connections or rabbit holes I could dive into, but in the end, I knew that all I could do was wait and pray. Oh my god, it's him. Hi Patrick. Regarding the McGriddler, I just don't have a clue about that character. Just like you, the only thing I found was this, and then he linked a screenshot of the Google search for the McGriddler character, bless his heart. Sorry I can't help you solve the mystery, Rich. I was crushed, to say the least, and very crushed to say the most. Regardless, I had to see if Rich had any information that could point me in the right direction. Since he retired in 2001, right before the Griddler supposedly appeared in commercials, I asked if he might have known of anyone that succeeded him or might have worked on the character. He responded, Actually, they retired all of the McDonaldland characters except Ronald in the early 2000s after I retired early. McDonaldland and Happy Meal commercials were created in the McDonald's Kids group. All of the other commercials were created in the McDonald's Adult group, so I really don't know anyone who might have worked on that. McGriddle would have been advertised in the Adult group. And there it was. I was hesitant to Google McDonald's Adult group at first, but the results weren't nearly as interesting nor provocative as you may have imagined.
And so, my search for the Griddler ended without the satisfying conclusion we were hoping for. You want to know the worst part? I still don't know if he's real or fake. I don't have the closure of knowing whether I wasted the last few months of my life looking for a man that doesn't exist. He could still be out there somewhere, it's just that I couldn't find him. I felt awful.
Weirdly, I felt a sort of responsibility towards James, Griddler Investigator, Nick the Artist, even fucking Brianna, and everyone else I'd met along the way that had helped me in my search. I was hoping that at the end of all this, I'd have something to show for it, that I'd be able to go back to every forum post that I'd read with the picture we'd all been waiting for. As James said, it would have been a spectacular moment in time for the McDonaldland community, and justified or not, I felt like I failed them.
But the search doesn't end here. My fellow Griddlers, if you've made it this far, then I'm sure you too are waiting for the day when any evidence of the Griddler makes its way onto the World Wide Web. And that's why I'm calling upon everyone watching this video to help spread the word. I mean, it may take days, months, or even years, but with God as my witness, we will find the Griddler. I really need you guys to pull out all the stops here. Do whatever it takes. Ask your parents, your grandparents, scour the dark web, watch your old VCR recordings from 2006, get hashtag find the Griddler trending. Any investigation helps. If you think you have any information related to the Griddler, at me on Twitter at skipssbm to let me know. I hope that one day the JPEG of the MP4 we've been dying to see will show up. But until then, I guess the unironic actual ending to this video is that the real Griddler was the friends we made along the way. And this picture. We're gonna find him. This isn't the last you've heard of the Griddler. Mark my words. Thanks for watching. Oh, you wanna hear my my impression of the Godfather theme song?
Yeah, sure, go for it.
That's how it sounds with the guitar.